on the stage now.
Let's get you all glammed up.
Yeah, I wonder if they were hearing all of the talking, because I don't think I was on mute. But they probably hear us now, so I think we can go ahead and get started. What do you think, Miss Karla? We can go ahead and get started? Let's go ahead and get started. Even though we said it would be like another 3 minutes, but let's go ahead and get started. Introduce yourself. Good afternoon, well, it's evening, afternoon, something, right? How's everybody doing? How you doing, Miss Karla? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me.
Anytime. Happy to be here.
Yes, happy New Year, happy all of that. We've spoken since the year started, so this is not the first time I'm seeing you, but I definitely wanted to. I think we were supposed to have a show like maybe 2 weeks back, but I kind of messed up on the schedule and I didn't get to. I didn't call you and set it up on time, so
you're good.
That was on me.
Right.
I think we're supposed to do it at the end of January, and then last week I had a show scheduled with someone, but they actually got caught up in session, so they weren't able to make it. But I'm so glad that you're here. And you're going to talk to us about some of the stuff that's happening at Broward County Public Schools. Mm-hmm. I know they had some conversations. There was a workshop. Was that yesterday already? I don't know. The days are all.
There was a workshop yesterday about that 4+1 schedule for high schools.
The 4+1 schedule for high school. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm Sandra Sheffrin, host of Race and the Races, and I have a special guest, Karla Figueroa. This is one of my PLTI cohort 2023 classmates. We were like the best class PLTI ever had. Yes, we were. That's the Parent Leadership Training Institute that's put on, like, we met at Kids in Distress, and then we had most of our sessions on Zoom. But I'm telling you, that was like probably one of the best group of women I've met in a very long time. And we've actually been able to continue our relationships, and we collaborate on a lot of different things since we did the cohort. I'm doing a homeless event, unhoused event on President's Day in Fort Lauderdale, and some of the parent leaders are going to join me in that effort. So, like I said, we really do collaborate. I know our sister Madeline had an event in Lauderhill. She had one of the first annual Haitian celebration days in Lauderhill. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it because I had I'm doing some campaign training stuff, right? So I had a merge session that was all day that day, so I couldn't get away. But I saw the photos, and the PLTI sisters was there to support her in that amazing endeavor. So, yeah, you were there too. You made it.
I didn't go. I know Cynthia went, and I know ladies went.
Cynthia, Carlene, and I saw some other folks in the photos.
Yeah.
All right, Karla, introduce yourself to the Race and the Races folks, and let's talk about what they trying to do. Not only Broward County Public Schools, apparently statewide. So introduce yourself to the folks and tell them all what you do, and then let's talk about what's happening.
So, hi everyone. I'm Karla Figueroa. I am a parent of the Broward County Public School System. I actually sit on quite a few advisories. I actually chair the Gifted Advisory as well. I am the vice chair of North Area Advisory. I sit on DAC. So I do a lot of heavy advocate work. So I'm happy to be here. So where do you want to start first?
So you sent me a summary of let's go from recent to and hustle back, right? Okay. So since they were talking about the 4+1 for the high school seniors on yesterday, tell the people what that means, what that looks like, and why is it that they're trying to convince parents that this is a good idea for parents?
Yeah. So funny enough, when that first came out in December, I think it was right before the winter break came, right? And I think it only went to high school parents, which I thought was odd because we all have a stake in it. If they want to switch that to high schools, why not elementary and middle school parents have a voice in that? Because eventually our kids will be in high school, right? My kids in middle school, I would want to say a voice on whether I want him to be or if, we should be in that 4-1, because he'll be in high school in about 2 years.
And there are parents who have children that are in high school, middle school, elementary school, all across. So they're affected no matter what. Because maybe what if that high schooler was the one that took the kids to school every day, and now on Friday they don't have to go to school, and they're like, why should I get up? I don't have to go to school on Friday.
Exactly.
It impacts you no matter what your scenario is.
Exactly. And it's funny because, or not even funny, it's interesting. They presented the results yesterday, right? I got to see the PowerPoint and decipher through some of that data that they shared. I didn't get to watch the entire meeting because, I do have a daytime job.
And those meetings tend to be long, sometimes unnecessarily so.
Yes. But interesting enough, the data showed that the principals were in favor of that 4+1 day. Parents were also in favor. The students, not so much. So they did send out a survey to the principals, to the parents and teachers, and also the students, but the students were not in favor of it.
Okay, so this whole thing about sending the survey out to the parents. Now, even if the data that they received said they're in favor of it, I think that data is very skewed, right? Because there are going to be many parents that's not going to have an email to be able to respond to that, right? And then say you decided to send it in the mail and tell them to send that letter back or whatever, people just aren't able to do that. So the parents who responded would be parents that would be interested in that, right? Like, for the most part, right? And you may get some dissenters, but once you do something like that, you already are eliminating a huge segment of the people who have a vested interest in students going to school, every day, right? So, I have immigrant parents, right? And if they sent some letter to the email in the mail about me, about some school stuff, there's no way they did not have the ability to really respond to that in a way that their voice would have been heard in sending out a survey. So I don't understand why they think that's the most effective and efficient way to do that. And then I also know that on the survey thing, there's some software that they're about to buy that's supposed to be more targeted survey, so who knows if they did this to justify trying to spend another over $100,000+ on getting some survey thing. I think even if it said the parents were on board, I would question, the accuracy of it, just because I think it was a biased sample of folks that responded in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was interesting how the adults were, yes, let's do this, but the students were like, no, let's not do this. So very interesting viewpoints in that sense. But
so did they have does it explain why parents will be in support of that? I can't see how that makes sense to parents, because now you have teenagers now, which is like this. From what I've heard, I'm newly into the teenage space, and I'm getting into the space where they might start like really aggravating me, right? Like, why would a parent want their teenager at home while they at work one day out of the week? Like, like, how you gonna leave your job to deal with whatever they about to get into? Like, what?
Right. They did show that data. They showed the opportunities of the pros and the cons of it, right? One of the biggest cons that I heard, among board member discussion was transportation, right? Transportation was one. Food insecurities was another one. Now those kids that, get free meals during, breakfast, lunch, even maybe supper, depending on after school activities. That was another one. So they weren't going to get those meals provided to them on Fridays, right? So that was one of the things. There was kind of a little of a laundry list on both sides. So homework was another one that students thought, well, now they'll have more time, but then that also may give teachers the opportunity to give them more work because now they have an extra day to kind of complete it. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of a little bit of everything. There was another one with like childcare. So, sometimes those older kids in high school are the ones that might take care of their younger brother, their siblings when they come home. So there was quite a few things that were discussed. And again, I didn't get to watch the entire board meeting. I did skim through the slides, but it'll be interesting how this vote will turn. And I know they talked about piloting schools. So the ones that do it right now is Pompano Beach High School. They have a 4+1. They showed their data, and obviously Pompano Beach is a fully magnet school, so it's completely choice. It's not like students are zoned to that school. You have to qualify to get in, depending on your status of scores and different academic achievements. So they're thinking about.
So not to interrupt you, but I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yes.
Is it like a magnet school? You're already dealing with a different type of student. You're not dealing with your average typical high school student when you're talking about high schoolers that have to apply to be part of a school. They tend to be already more disciplined, right? Self-starters usually have really good academic, they're college bound, trying to do something great with their life. So that should not be the sample size of whether or not a program like that should work. Because when you have students who are in magnet programs, depending on what it is, they already have a level of self-motivation anyway, that they're even doing something beyond just going to school and taking the typical 6 classes that they're going to offer them. I don't know how many classes, I would 6, 8, whatever the number of classes that they take right now. You're dealing with a different type of student that I do not believe is the average student that's part of Broward County Public Schools.
Right.
So how does that even make sense?
Right. They did talk about that as well. Maybe doing it, because they gave on their demographic data for the students, how many are white, how many are Black, how many are Asian. So they gave that type of data. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they're going to pilot it at a school or two. And, Broward schools tends to do what they want to do anyways, no matter, and I think it's funny. I've seen the comments where it says, oh, well, parents were in favor. That means we're not going to go to the 4+1, right? Because they do exactly the opposite. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on this. Parents were in favor of it because I can't imagine how that makes sense. Like, I don't want my kids home by themselves all day. Like, I just don't. I think I cannot. That can't make sense to me. You're not at home. And then even say if you work from home, first of all, I don't think most parents are at home, right? Because they're making everybody go back to the office and go back to work and stuff, right? So you're not at home. And so you got like a 16, 17-year-old home, and all the rest of their 16, 17-year-old friends are home too?
Right.
What? I don't care what kind of cameras you got in your house. By the time you see something and you get your cell phone over there, it already done popped off. You know
exactly. What I mean? And something else that was very, in the ESC population, that's something like if let's say, they're in school Monday through Thursday, now the parent has to worry about that child on Friday and where they're going to be, how are they going to get taken care of? Is that parent going to have to take off work? So that's kind of like that childcare, because, ESC population is delicate, they all have their challenges. And just, it's going to probably cost more to a parent than it would if they were in school those 5 days. So.
Yeah, and I'm a mom of an ESC student, right? Who like even now, she's in middle school when she gets out. She's like, "What time are you coming home? Share your location," because she doesn't want to be home alone, and I don't leave her home alone. Luckily, her brother comes home before her. However, when he during his sports season, I had to be like, I'm like, I gotta go. I taught my classes, and there I was, right? Like I was on my way home. Even when I worked, if I worked and I wasn't nearby, I have someone who helps me with them, but that's all cost. They don't help me for free. You know what I mean? They don't help me for free. So it's, I tell you, like, I can't, that's why I'm not convinced that them parents really agree to that. And the ones who did, they have their reasons. Like they have their reasons. It's something that works for them. But that to me, again, doesn't seem to be, that wouldn't seem to be the position of a typical parent in a public school system.
Yeah, I think some of the favors were, mental health. I think on there, I also saw like, more family time, vacation time, where kids don't, attendance won't have to be an issue. So those are some of the positives that I saw that parents were discussing.
Mm-hmm. So Chris Cantor says that he thinks we need a better understanding of who the respondents were. If it was mostly parents from the Pompano Beach High School, then we would expect those results to be favorable because that's already their schedule. So we need to better understand if the data is reliable and tells the story of what is purported to tell. And I'm all for that. I really like. I don't know. I can't imagine you want your teenagers in your house.
And something that was that Blanche Ely actually had that 4+1 schedule, and I guess it ended up not working for them, so they had to go back to the regular schedule.
And like you were saying about the ESC students, I can't leave my daughter home all day by herself. That can't happen. Like at all. That can't happen. So that schedule under no circumstances ever going to work for me, whether she's in high school or whatever it is. That's just not going to work. And then for that to be something that we're going to be forced to do is too much. And besides all of that, the board got enough stuff that they really should be dealing with, that this is what they're dealing with. Like, you got bigger problems than this, and this is what you want to go spend time on trying to make work. Like, how is that the case? Their buildings with mold in it. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what you want to spend a whole, workshop on, trying to convince people that they need to do.
But then again, also that sample size was only high school parents. So we didn't get any input from middle school parents. We didn't get any input from elementary school parents, because again, we have a stake in that. So as our children grow up, we're going to eventually be in high school. So if that doesn't work for me, I want you to know now that's not going to work for me.
And then 8th grade middle school parents, which I'm one of them, I will have a high schooler next year. So she's going to be impacted, and I didn't get to say a thing about it.
Right. Exactly.
So, I tell you. So there's some other, there's some legislation that's making its way through the Florida House and Senate that you wanted to highlight. Let's get started on that.
Some light, because I should have prepared myself better, girl, because I don't know, it just got really dark in my house.
I had to have light, because then I'll just disappear.
Hold on 1 second, I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem, absolutely. All right, Chris got another comment. He says that I'm going to ask again, where is the research showing us this is an effective measure to increase academic outcomes? We need to see it. I don't see it. I don't see how having students go to school less is helpful, particularly since they already spent, almost a year and a half out of school. So I just don't understand how any of this makes sense. And it always makes me wonder why the members of the board, why are they on the board? And there's a few of them who I know that they didn't get elected to be on the board to do what's best for students. They had their own personal reasons on why they got on the board. And, I think some of them was already successful in what it is that they were trying to do. So they should just go and let somebody who really is interested in making sure the academic experience of children in Broward County Public School is better, and let them be on the board. Because this board they got some, I don't know what they're trying to do, but it ain't to make sure that children are educated. So I agree with you, Chris, that how is this effective, making them go to school 4 days a week? I don't get it.
Yeah. Legislation.
Legislation.
There's a lot of legislation. And I guess, to be clear, because I didn't understand that until this year. Once these bills pass, it's technically not something in the control of Broward schools, right? It's not something that they can change. It's a law. So they got to do it no matter what. So I'm over here, Broward schools, but technically not always, you know what I'm saying? So one of them is that 7,000 SB, Senate Bill 7004 I sent you, with the retention criteria for 3rd grade. So
provide the summary for the folks, and then, we'll get into it.
Yeah. So currently, and I have all my notes here. It's a lot. It's a large bill. It's like 26 pages, right? So in summary, pretty much this bill, it removes that 3rd grade retention. So currently, right now in 3rd grade, it's the retention year. So if you don't pass that certain criteria for the state assessments, then you are retained. So that way you have to repeat the grade again.
Is it that you're automatically retained, or can the parents say, no, push my child to the next grade?
So that's what this bill is now doing. So this bill now removes that, and it pretty much the parent determines that promotion criteria to 4th grade. So the parent can say, no, you can push my child. I think right now it's like a mandate that you have to repeat the grade. That's how I understood it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's important to note for parents, because it could have been 1 point, right? If your child missed it by 1 point, are you going to retain them that whole year because of that 1 point? I'm sure they look at other, criteria, maybe the STAR. Some schools have, other learning mechanisms and reading mechanisms that they have. So, but the parents do have that voice now to make sure that they get pushed through. So that's really good.
So are you in favor of that or no? Like, you don't have to express your opinion, because we're really hearing more about informing people of what's there. And that's just something that folks need to think about, that they're going to change the law and, and just give parents permission to just push their children along. Right now. And folks will be like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't my kid. It does. It has a lot to do with you because you know what happened? That kid is probably going to be in your child's class, right? And that has an impact on the teaching environment. Like I already think that teachers pretty much teach to the middle. So if a student is operating below grade level, I don't think teachers put in the extra time that they need to get that student where they are, right? They're just like, listen, just take your C, your D and get out my class, right? And then if you're and if you're a student that's doing really well, they're not trying to give you anything extra. They're not trying to push you further along. They're like, wait, we're not on chapter 5 yet. Will you will let the rest of us catch up? So they pretty much just teach to the middle. So if you have a student who probably shouldn't be in your kid's grade and they're in their class because their parents are like, I don't want my child to be 12 in the 4th grade or something, and they're sitting in your class, that's going to have an impact on you. So we should all be concerned about that, right? We should all be concerned about that.
I have mixed emotions about it because, as a parent, you don't ever want your child to fall behind, right? You want them to be normal like the other kids.
We're not going to talk about normal. It's what it is, right? Everybody, right. I don't know about the word normal. It's one of my trigger words, right? So because they're not abnormal. They're just,
Correct. But, that's the society normal, right? Mm-hmm. But if they do, let's say, get pushed through, I think it would be very imperative for the school and the teachers to maybe put that child on consultation, maybe do pull-out sessions with them because, like you said, it's very true. Now the teacher's having to stop and explain to this one specific child who's still reading on a 1st grade kindergarten level, and we're over here sitting on chapter books and you're only doing, 2 to 3 pages or 2 to 3 words. So I think it's very important that that parent and that school work with that, with that child and make sure that they get them to, those standards of where they need to be.
And so Chris suggested we use the word general ed instead of normal.
Okay, good. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Thomas Vasquez joined us. Hey, Thomas, how are you? He was at the Grandma How You Doing with the Aretha event when we were talking about PTAs on the east side of Broward County. So good to see you. So he says 4-day-a-week school schedule does not help parents who are working and does not focus on raising the education performance of students. We need better leaders on the board. Yeah, I concur. We do need better leaders on the board. All right, so now they're going to automatically give the parents the option to push Johnny on to the next grade. And I'm not dissing no kids named Johnny. I'm just saying, right, that they're just going to go ahead and move them on to the next grade, even though they shouldn't be there. Because they need just more support and services. Now, if they could put the student into the next grade and they can provide the necessary support and services to get them to catch up, then that would make sense. But if you're just going to put them there and knowing that the teacher in the classroom does not necessarily have the time or the ability to really help the student catch up, they're going to just continue to fall back. It could become a whole different scenario in the classroom because now you have a student that's sitting here that don't fully understand, what's going on. They can't keep up. It's a recipe for disaster, I think.
Yeah, and I think it could also be a recipe for bullying because all the kids are going to be picking on that child. Oh, you can't read. Oh, we're always having to stop because Johnny doesn't know what's going on, So you kind of want to do what's the best interest of the child as a whole. So again, I think it's be very imperative that if the parent does decide to move the child forward, that we work with consultation, pulling out methods, reading interventions, so that way they can get the help they need.
Absolutely. So is there anything else in that bill 7,000?
There is. There's another thing that's going to, upon becoming to law, and this definitely affects high school. So students will not be required to pass Algebra 1 end of course assessments and grade 10 ELA assessments to earn a standard high school diploma. But then next to that on the bill, it says that the ELA assessment constitutes 30% of the student's final grade. So I'm almost like, isn't that contraindicatory? I don't know. So it's 30% of your grade, you're failing, but it's okay. You can still get a high school diploma.
You could graduate with a 70 or C, girl. What you mean?
Maybe. And that's why I was like, well, my son right now is in Algebra 1, and I have been so hard on him. I'm like, you better pass that end of course exam because I'm not having it, right? Because it'll hurt his high school GPA, and he's only in 7th grade. So reading that, I'm just like, I don't know. Is that a good thing?
And so that's one of those things where, like, again, I have a child that's on the spectrum that has an IEP but she's high functioning enough that she's on standards, even though she's operating behind grade level, right? And they were like, yeah, if she doesn't pass these tests, they're gonna give her some certificate that said she showed up, like every day, which she does have perfect attendance, right? So she was there every day, and she got some of it, not all of it, maybe not enough of it, but they're gonna go ahead and give her a diploma, and then she's gonna do what with it? Try to go to somebody college and like really not be able to,
yeah.
What we doing? Like, right. What we doing? And I mean, again, I'm probably one of those parents that's going to benefit from the fact that they're going to just give this girl a degree, regardless of if she should have it or not. I don't know. And I'm not a fan of standardized testing, because I don't think that necessarily dictates and determines a person's intellect, because I don't test well, but I've managed to do a lot of pretty dope stuff with my life, even though I don't test well. So I don't think standardized testing is it. However, we do need to have, I mean, you should be able to pass algebra by the time you get to the 12th grade, at least. Like, come on now. Even if you can't do it in 9th grade, like, come on now, let's get there. Because that's more than just understanding the math. That's about like how you're going to think through situations in life, about critical thinking skills, about it's a life skill that's in that math. Now, mind you, I took it like 40 years ago, so I probably don't remember any of it. But still, at the time, I got it.
This math is very different than when we went to school. Another bill that I think is very interesting. We're talking about right now this redefining schools, these town halls that are occurring in the district. There's a bill out right now, 430, SB 430.
So that's a Senate bill. That bill's in the Senate.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's not 430. It's SB 246. Okay. That bill allows now the municipalities that if they decide to close a public school, that they can make it a charter school, right? I think that's funny how this bill is coming right at the moment where we're trying to make all these decisions. And I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go.
So all of this is saying to me is that we need to be very careful who we elect in November. Right. Yeah. So actually, there's some seats that are up. There's some elections on March 19th in about 5 cities in the county. So this right here lets you know it's very important who you elect. Now, if you go and put some developer or somebody that, is going to agree with whatever the people who are donating to that campaign, I mean, big money folks that are donating to that campaign, you're going to find your school becoming a charter school, and that ain't really what it should be. Now, I'm just going to say I have a child in charter and I have a child in public. So it's not like I'm against charter schools, but we always need to be careful of like what's a person's motivation for when decisions are made. Is it really the best interest of the children, or is it the best interest of one of their friends who need, who want to get a charter school and end up owning a plaza? Because they can open these charter schools, pay off the building with the school money and close it, and then your kid got to figure out where they're going to school next too, right? And they get to own the building because they got all this public school money to have a school that may not be up to standard. So we really have to pay attention of like who it is that we're going to put in office, because these decisions can have extremely negative consequences, not only on your children that are in school, but just your community overall.
Right. And before, I guess, as current day, there has to be, like a majority vote between the parents and the teachers of the school, whether they want to convert it to charter. But and then the municipalities had to do some kind of application process and kind of then, take over if needed. But now this allows the municipalities to just go ahead and do it, So I think that'll be very interesting. So I'm sure it's putting Broward schools on notice that, hey, we got to get it together, because otherwise municipalities are going to jump in.
And let me tell you, like, okay, so I got a couple problems with that, right? I got a couple problems with that. One of them is going to be like in communities where you have parents who can't go to meetings and have a voice, right? Because they're working 3-4 jobs. Listen, I have like a bunch of degrees, and I think I work by 3-4 jobs now. At least it feels like that to me, because I feel like I'm always doing something, right? So imagine a parent who has to work all the time and doesn't have an opportunity to have an input, right? So now decisions are going to be made that's going to affect them that really shouldn't. And then the other thing that's happening is that there are certain communities that's dealing with gentrification right now. Okay, they're dealing with the neighborhoods are turning over, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a neighborhood that's being gentrified and turning over, and then they're gonna have this meeting about like what the city can do or the commission can do.
Yeah.
Who are the parents that are gonna show up? The parents who are new to the neighborhood, are there because it costs too much to live anywhere else, and these houses are still cheap, and so we gonna come in here. Or like the it's not as close to the beach because all the people want to go to the beach, and now we got beach erosion and all this other kind of stuff, and so they're like, yo, I don't want to be here no more because it's flooding out east, so let me come back in. So now you have those folks moving into the neighborhood. They're gonna have influence on the commissioners, and next thing you know, that school is gonna become a charter school, and that community is gonna be affected. So we need to think about things in terms of that. Y'all sit back and act like this ain't gonna affect your life. It is going to affect your life in a very negative way. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're gonna be like, yo, what just happened? So those things they're playing chess. That's what I'm gonna say.
It's a lot happening. And I encourage the parents too that you can go on the Broward Schools website and search legislation, and it'll take you to the legislation page, and all the bills that are specific to education and what's happening. You can even sign up for those newsletters to go to your inbox, and that's how I get my information, because I'm like, whoa, like what's happening here? So
all right, so Chris Cantor wants to know, he wants that bill number again. This needs to be made very public in light of school closures.
It's 246 SB 246.
All right, I'm gonna put that in the chat.
Yeah, it's the chart.
That's in the bill 246.
SB 246.
Okay. Yeah, so no, I'm telling people really need to think about that, because you're going to find and then they'll make it a charter school that your kid can't even get into. And then what are they going to do then, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Another bill that was good is free and reduced lunch. That's one that's going to be hopefully passed, and I'm sure that will pass. So that way it gives everybody access. The schools won't be able to charge anymore. So everyone will have free.
The charter schools too, because my son, every time I turn around, I feel like I'm sending them people $100. Like, what's up with that?
I'm not sure about charter, but I know in public for sure that was one.
Because I keep getting these alerts that the man ain't got no money on his account. I'm like, how much does this food cost?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So that'll be across the board, and it's not income based. It won't be income based.
Right.
But hopefully that doesn't compromise the quality of the food that's going to be provided in the school right now. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it doesn't compromise the quality of the food.
Listen, when I lived in Puerto Rico, I did kindergarten in Puerto Rico. We had rice and beans and chicken. We had the good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Here, I don't know. Stuff be crawling in the food. I don't know. It's funny enough. So I did when my son was in elementary, I did get to do like a mom's day that they had all the moms come and have lunch with your kids. They have the school lunch day.
Yeah.
And I went through the line. They served you spaghetti, and I'm just like, this is so bland. I need some salt. I need some hot sauce. I need something, because this ain't doing it for me.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like when they start doing that, it's like somebody. I don't know. I hate that I'm so distrusting when I hear some of these things that's allegedly supposed to be in the best interest of folks, and it turns out that no, it's in the best interest of the person that's gonna start providing this food to the school. Because now they're gonna bid for, since everybody got to eat for free. Then now you got to figure out. You got to consider the cost, because we're not getting any money on this food now. So now we need to go get bids, and someone to give us the cheapest food and all that kind of stuff. And then here you go, right? They're gonna give their friend a contract to provide food that's allegedly healthy. It may not be, because it got to be cheap too, right? And then when you get into private companies, they're in the business of making money for their shareholders. And don't ever be confused about who they're loyal to, right? And so now that could compromise the quality of food that the students are getting in the school. And we want to believe that these folks are not going to do that, but yeah.
Shout out to Food and Nutrition. I'm sure they work hard, but we got to work on that food a little bit more. So
we definitely have to do that. So it sounds like a good thing. I'm gonna give it a little side eye till I see what it actually, because I just don't. They just do these things to the students. It's too much. And the one thing I wanted to talk about when you go back to was when you talk about the 4-day. They would say like, what about kids that don't have food and they only get their meals at the school and all that stuff. that's another side eye thing I have is like every time when they try to act like, oh, we're worried about the poor people. You know what I mean? Like y'all ain't never worried about the poor people, okay? Because if you're worried about the poor people, you wouldn't do 90% of the things you're doing. So don't come bringing people who don't have no food into this. Because if you were really concerned about them, you wouldn't be talking about 4 days in the first place, right? And you wouldn't be having meetings at times where their parents can't come, you know? So you wouldn't do these things. So stop. Like, so anytime they throw that in there, I'm just like, Lord, again, I question what it is that you're doing, because everything you're doing is inconsistent of a person that's care about poor people.
Yeah, you know? and a facility, you know what I'm saying? Even the facilities, you know, and the conditions that they are, I think.
Yes, yeah. I was at a school, and I don't want to say the city, and the whole sidewalk had like, you know, the algae mold, like the whole thing was like if it got wet, you would probably slip on it because you know, so I'm like, y'all can't pressure clean the sidewalk. Like, how hard is that? Like, tell me, how hard is that? And if you're not even pressure cleaning the sidewalks, you cannot tell me you care about what's happening to these students in the school, because that don't cost no money. You can go rent a pressure cleaner from Home Depot for like $20 an hour or whatever it is and get them to clean that sidewalk. So if you're not even worried about things like that, that's easily fixable, you can't convince me that you care about what's happening with those students in that building, because you would care about them falling outside on this algae-filled sidewalk.
I will mention, because you mentioned the school board meeting. So it is next week, Tuesday. Is next week Tuesday the 21st? Yeah, next week Tuesday.
No, the 21st is Wednesday. So maybe it's on the 20th?
Maybe it's the 21st. It's one of those days next week.
Okay.
But so the school board did hear the parents, right? And they said, okay, we'll have a meeting where everybody can attend. We won't have it so early in the morning. We'll have a night meeting. Problem is they started at 2 p.m., right? 2 p.m. is when school's out. So parents are trying to go pick up kids.
In the drop-off line.
So we still can't make those meetings. So I'm afraid that, you know, come next week, they're going to come to the board meeting. It's one of the night meetings that they scheduled. Nobody's still going to show up. And then
they don't want you there. I don't know why you think they want you there, Karla. They don't want you there, girl. They know what time schools get out. They know exactly what time schools get out.
You would think.
No, they do know. They're like, they don't want y'all there. Because listen, I went to an event where I'm gonna call out the superintendent on this. I don't care. He don't like me already anyway, so whatever, right? Okay. So he really don't, because every time he see me, he be like, Lord, this damn girl again. It's like, I don't care. I don't, right? So there was a community meeting, right? He comes to the meeting, and you know, people are gonna be, this dude said, oh, like my wife just came back into town and I haven't seen her in a week, so I gotta go. Bruh. Like, and he left. I was like, dude, I'm on hour 14 of my day and I haven't seen my kids since this morning, but I'm still sitting here, and you're a whole grown person. You can see your wife later. You took this job, got these people to pay you all this money for you to make sure, you know, to kind of get it together, and then you finna walk out talking about you worry about your wife. Y'all been married long enough. She understands, homie.
Benefit of the doubt. He's a family man.
Whatever. No. This was the only opportunity those folks had to talk to him and hear what was going on. He scheduled that meeting. He knew he should have already known his wife's schedule. You can't do that. To me, you just scared and you really don't want to hear what's going on. So you can't come tell me about, oh, your wife been out of town. Man, you ain't no newlywed. That lady probably don't even want to see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that is not an example of being a family person to me. That's an example of you not being there for the community who you got to pay you all this money. You're not serving them. That's what that was to me. That was not I need to go see my wife. Child, please. No, I want to go see my kids, but I can't see them because I want to hear what's happening here.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. If he scheduled it, then yes, definitely there should be a better time management in that sense. If you knew your, spouse's schedule. So
we ain't worried about her. She good. She all right. No, you were here for the people. They're the one that you're supposed to be here trying to figure out what it is that they need so you can provide a better educational system for their children. And that's what you're getting paid all that money to do. So that's what you need to be doing that day. You can see your wife. You'll see your wife in 2 hours. Come on, boy. No, it's not like it was like if it was terminal or something like that, I can see it. But it's because she just got home. She gonna be home later too.
Yeah.
No.
I do get that sometimes, even when I sit in meetings and, they dismiss, district staff, they've been here all day. I'm like, okay, but I'm not getting paid for this. They're getting paid to be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, This is my volunteer time. I'm giving up my time as well. So
right, and they're the ones that always come and don't have enough information. It's like, well, what you thought you was coming here to do? You know, they always come like, oh, well, I don't have that. I could get back with you. I could get it. Well, what did you think you were coming here to do? Provide information, and you come without it, and now all of a sudden you trying to act like you tired and the day been long. It's been long for me too. No, so yeah. So they definitely need to do better. They need to do better. People need to call them out and hold them accountable. So
yeah,
that's what I gotta say about that. What else? Any more bills?
There's a lot of bills, and I know we're going to be short on time soon, but I really encourage parents to go through that website and look at all the bills that are coming across. Dual enrollment is one. I think they're going to require all schools to provide the dual enrollment for high school. The Bright Future Scholarship.
Wait a minute. Hold up. So they want all schools to make dual enrollment available.
Yes. The high schools are going to be required to come into some kind of agreement with I guess the colleges to provide dual enrollment. I think the criteria is because some dual enrollment you have to actually like leave campus and go to the college campus. I think we're going to have to provide it now in person at the high school, in case those students have transportation issues. That's, some of the things that I read on there. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stipulations occurring with that, but that enrollment was one. Bright Future Scholarship was another one that's going to.
What are they doing with Bright Futures? Because I heard you need to have at least 120 hours of community service, certain grades, and an SAT score to get it. Tell us about Bright Futures.
I didn't get to read the full thing, unfortunately, but there is changes. Let me see if I can probably pull it up, but I know there is changes to the
because I was told like if you get a certain score that Bright Futures pay about 75% of your tuition. So it's a really good program, and I hope what they're doing is not taking away what it's giving. So hopefully that's not what the all right, so Thomas told me like, yeah, keep it real. Leaders don't talk like that. He is supposed to be there and serve the community. It's true. Like, dude, are you serious? I was like, that can't be the reason. That was so disrespectful to me. Yeah. All right, so it's okay if you don't have it. We're gonna you found it?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
It revises the student eligibility criteria for specified awards within Bright Futures. And that's going to be effective July 21st. But that's
what are they going to do with it?
It revises the eligibility criteria for the specified awards within Bright Futures.
Oh God.
I'm sure the community service hours and all that stuff will probably change.
Oh, that revision. That's going.
So I know teacher bills. I think there's some other ones where like teacher salary was going to be on there, increasing teacher salaries.
We support that.
We do definitely support that. There is Holocaust and African American studies that will be required as part of education.
Oh, but wait, what? So,
I'll be catching you off guard, girl.
If it's the African American studies that where the man said that them people was working, they could keep that. Like, we don't need it. Like, we don't need that version of African American studies in the public schools. If it's their revised version of African American history, just leave it the way it is. And no, we don't want it. I'm not supporting that. No. So no, they can keep it. Like, just go. Let us live with these lies, right? Because now they're trying to introduce some bigger lies, and those bigger lies are even more problematic, right? Yeah. So no, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Because it sounds like a good thing, but I assure you, it ain't a good thing. So we don't want it. We don't want no more of your versions of African American history. Thank you very much, but that's a hard no, a pass, full stop. Don't want it.
Definitely. I think I don't know. No comment. I'm gonna leave it at that. No comment.
We commented. We don't want it. That's it. Now keep that one. Skip that. Don't pass that. And so let me tell you. So we're like, I'm trying to find some humor in this, but understand that we have in our Florida House and our Florida Senate, the Republicans have a super majority. Yeah. So whatever they want to do, they are going to do it. Yes. Right. So the Democrats are basically going to go there and they're just going to put on the record that they disagree or whatever their position is. And they're absolutely going to fight hard to try to make the bills not as awful as they could be. And I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. They're going to be bad. They could have been worse had we not had the Democrats there. Right. But understand that the Republican have a supermajority in the House and the Senate, and whatever they want to do is actually going to happen. So all of these bills that Karla's here telling you about, Most likely they're gonna be a law, and typically they're effective July 1st.
July
So
1st.
you know they're gonna be a law because, and so what that means is that come the primaries in August, you need to vote people in that's going to be okay with the issues, because even though they become law, they can always repeal them when they go into session the next time, right? So it doesn't have to stay the law. So if they go and do this wild crazy stuff that they're talking about doing it, you don't need to let most of those folks that are there to keep their jobs and put them out, so we can have people that's going to really do stuff that's sensible.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Absolutely. So,
okay, so tell us when your next meeting is. Who, if you need people to come, if y'all need more folks on these advisory boards or anything like that, go ahead.
We definitely do. We actually, I would love to see all of y'all at JP Taravella tomorrow for the One Redefining Schools meeting. There's another one next week at Flanagan High School.
Slow down. Tell us the time, and then tell us the address of JP Taravella.
Girl, you're going to make me look for the address.
All right, then. So at least tell us the time. Tell us the time.
Coral Springs. JP Taravella High School at Coral Springs, 6 p.m. Doors open at 5:30, so get there early.
And what are they going to be discussing at that meeting?
So the Redefining Schools is going to be talking about the potential of the school closures, how the future of Broward schools is going to look like, and go and voice your opinion. I will say they're going to have everybody go into small groups. So it's not going to be that town hall format that they normally do when they call for town halls. So they will be giving everybody a wristband once you walk in with a different color. You walk in, they're going to give you the presentation. You're going to go and go into small groups and then have discussions on these topics. They want to hear how this will be a positive thing. They want to hear that, and they also want to hear potential impacts and how that will look.
So they want to hear what people think. They don't want you to go there and only find the good in it. They want to know how folks truly feel about the issues that are being discussed.
I will say no. From what I've heard, and from me logging into last week's meeting, it did not seem that way. So I hope that there will be further discussion and the format will change for the future. I think we will definitely need the masses to come out to the school board workshops and when they actually vote, so that way they can hear from the public if they don't have better dialogue on the matter. So I think the way that the format is right now is maybe just a starting point. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and there was another meeting that you wanted to talk about that's next week?
North Area Advisory is next week on Tuesday. So that is at Monarch High School at 6:15. And then the third and final Redefining Town Hall is at Flanagan High School next Thursday. So that will also be at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5:30. They had one last week at Fort Lauderdale High School.
So that will be so that next Thursday, that'll be on the 22nd or something?
22nd, Thursday. It's Thursday. So it's 3 Thursdays that it happens.
Okay. All right, y'all. So Karla came and told y'all Coral Springs have a meeting tomorrow at JP Taravella. Yes. Next Tuesday, North Advisory at Monarch High School. I went to one of those meetings. It just felt far. Yeah. But I went to one of those meetings.
Well, you all the way down to Miramar.
I'm in the. I should be at the South Advisory meeting.
You were down in like the Miami area. I'm all the way up in the Boca area.
Yeah, so I was there, and then next Thursday is the last meeting of the Redefining Schools, and it's going to be at Flanagan, which I think is a high school, right? Flanagan High School, and so you go get there and voice your opinion. Most of the doors are going to open at 5:30. Go and let them know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what is it that you want them to do.
Yep. Absolutely.
So if they want to get in contact with you, Karla, do you want them to get in contact with you? And if so, how?
Sure,
if they
absolutely.
want to volunteer and join these advisory boards.
Yes, you can email me, email fig.k11@gmail.com.
Say it one more time so I can type it in the chat.
fig.k11@gmail.com.
She needs some volunteers, y'all. All right. Thank you so much, my PLTI sister, now friend, friend turned sister, right?
Yes.
On coming and joining me tonight on this episode of Racing the Races. Thank you all. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Latricia. Thank you, Thomas, for coming on in. Truly appreciate you guys being here and showing support. Karla brought the crowd in tonight. She brought the crowd in tonight. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening. See you.
Bye.
Elections happen.